good morning to one and all. We all are pleased to welcome New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy and New Jersey First Lady Tammy Sander, our colleagues from Rutgers University, New Jersey Institute of Technology, New Jersey City University, members of New Jersey Trade Delegation to IIT Gandhinagar. I also welcome the students, faculty, members of the IITGN, and the friends gathered here. To launch our proceedings for the day, I invite Director of the IIT Gandhinagar, Professor IIT Jain, to give some opening remarks.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are delighted to welcome New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, First Lady Tammy Murphy, our colleagues from Rutgers University, New Jersey Institute of Technology, New Jersey City University, and members of the New Jersey Trade Delegation to IIT Gandhinagar. We just signed MOUs with the 4 New Jersey public universities, which we hope will lead to very vibrant people and research exchanges in the years to come. Globalization is one of the central tenets of IIT Gandhinagar's academic philosophy, whose other pillars include interdisciplinarity, diversity, social engagement, and hands-on learning. It is our hope and belief that the academic exchanges that will emerge from our agreements today will advance along each of these parameters. IIT Gandhinagar is one of the most globalized campuses in the country. Nearly 40% of our undergraduates and 75% of our postgraduate PhD students receive some study abroad, internship, or other experiences overseas before they graduate from the institute. Nearly 80% of our faculty has an overseas degree or postdoctoral experience. Almost 15% of our faculty is visiting predominantly from abroad at any given point of time. We also host many international students every year on our campus. We believe that these global experiences through our partnerships with the universities across the world, from North America to Europe to Asia, enrich our communities and our nations. We are excited, therefore, to expand our global partnerships to New Jersey, and we thank the Governor for his visit to the Institute, which triggered and enabled the agreements that we signed today. I, as well as many of my colleagues, have visited New Jersey frequently over the years. It would be hard for any Indian living in or visiting the East Coast of the United States to escape the shadow that New Jersey casts on the overseas Indian imagination. It has the highest proportion of Indians in any state of the United States, and it also happens to have the largest concentration of Gujaratis in the country. We understand as a result of Governor's visit that India is also one of the largest source country of foreign direct investment in the state. Clearly, Indians have a particular affinity for the state of New Jersey. We are glad, therefore, for the first visit by a sitting New Jersey governor to India, and pleased that IIT Gandhinagar is hosting one of the last public events of his visit. We are looking forward to the governor's remarks and the questions and answers in this town hall to develop a better understanding of New Jersey and the special place it has in the hearts of Indian Americans. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Professor Jain, for your kind words. I request Sakshi to introduce our honored speaker, Governor Phil Murphy.
Governor Phil Murphy says he grew up in a family that was middle class on a good day, and that has shaped his values, priorities, and governorship. He received his undergraduate degree from Harvard University, and after earning a graduate degree at Wharton School at University of Pennsylvania, he worked at Goldman Sachs for 23 years. Governor Murphy has helped lead local charities to support troubled teens and domestic abuse survivors, and these groups have changed thousands of lives. Nationally, he served on the board of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, which is the world's oldest civil rights organization. In 2009, he became the US ambassador to Germany. In 2013, Governor Murphy and his wife Tammy founded the policy think tank New Start New Jersey, an organization to rebuild the state's economy and the middle class. He took charge as the 56th governor of the New Jersey in January 2019. As a governor, his vision is to grow the middle class and jumpstart the state's economy by targeting investments in people and infrastructure, reclaiming New Jersey's mantle as a center of the STEM and the innovation economies. Thank you.
Excuse us.
Kim Cho, everybody. I got it. Thank you. I'm good. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Dr. Jain. Thank you for your hospitality, for your leadership. Dr. Mehra, great to meet you. You bounce back and forth between the United States and Gujarat. Sakshi, thank you very much for that very gracious introduction. I want to thank the sound guy as well. Thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I met with the Prime Minister, your former Chief Minister, Prime Minister Modi, a few days ago, and I said I was going to have to miss Howdy Modi in Houston, but I would be waving the flag in Gujarat. So here we are. We just met with your current Chief Minister Rupani, and it was suggested that while they're doing Howdy Modi in Houston, we should be doing Howdy Rupani in Gujarat. Thoughts, maybe? Up to you all. I am thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for hosting us. I'm here with a very impressive delegation, and I'm honored by that. We've had an incredible week in India. I've been to India many times, but I've not been here for 20 years, and this is the first time I've ever been to Gujarat, and that's a big deal, so it's a big day for us. Our delegation is rich with diversity and expertise. It's led, if I may ask her to stand up, by my wife, the First Lady of the state of New Jersey, Tammy Murphy. Three members of the New Jersey Gujarati family in terms of their ethnicity and their roots. Nick Desai's in the house. Raj Parikh, Raj, where are you? And Anush Amin is in the house. Good to have you guys, and welcome home. We have a whole passel of other folks. We got an elected official, other than myself, Assemblyman Raj Mukherjee, right down here. Raj. And then, Dr. Jain, we're going to, a short time from now, sign a memorandum of understanding between IIT Gandhinagar on the one hand and 3 universities, as you mentioned, on the other hand, from New Jersey. We got Pavita Howe from Rutgers is with us. We got, Tamara Cunningham from New Jersey City University's in the house. And Simon Ninans from NJIT is with us. So we've had an extraordinary week. This is our 7th and final day. We've been in Delhi, Agra, Mumbai, Hyderabad, and now we're in Ahmedabad and Gandhinagar today, and we're incredibly jazzed by this. It's been an incredibly productive week for us. We're sorry to have to go home. How many people here have ever, raise your hand, have you ever been to New Jersey? All right. Where'd you go, sir? To New Jersey, where? What's? NJIT. How about you? You drove through New Jersey. We need you back. Anybody else? Who else went to New Jersey? Sir? Princeton? And Newark. Fantastic. How about you? NJIT? Anybody else in here? Princeton. Anybody else in the back? Over here? Anybody have relatives in New Jersey, family in New Jersey? Raise your hand. My hand is high because we've got relatives in New Jersey. And where do they live, sir? Where do they live in New Jersey? Do you know? Okay. We'll look them up when we get back for you. Anybody else get family? Newark. New Jersey. Do you know where in New Jersey? Okay, we'll look up your family as well. So, New Jersey and Gujarat have a lot in common, and at the same time, they're quite different. Overwhelmingly, the commonality, we have a huge Gujarati population in New Jersey. It's probably the biggest in the United States, I would think, guys, right? We have 420,000 members of the Indian community in New Jersey, and a huge chunk of them come from right here in Gujarat. So we're incredibly proud of that. And you see that in every walk of life. Businesses, big and small, elected officials, higher education, healthcare, law, society more generally. And we're incredibly proud about that. But we're also, in another respect, very different. I'll give you a couple of differences. You have 60 million people here. 60. We have 9 million. We're the 11th largest American state. We've got a bigger economy, but we grow at a slower rate. Thanks to Prime Minister and former Chief Minister Modi and now Chief Minister Rupani, this state grows faster than any state in India and a lot faster than we do in New Jersey. My dream is to someday grow as fast as Gujarat. And you got a whole lot more land than we have. We're the 4th smallest American state. So I think you're 8 or 9 times larger than New Jersey. And that gives you a lot of different dimensions that, for instance, in energy and agriculture. We've got a strong agricultural economy, but we don't have a whole lot of land. You've got different dimensions than we have. But most importantly, we have a lot in common. And we've seen that all this week. We've seen it today. We just had a great meeting with the Chief Minister. Dr. Jain, thank you so much for hosting us here. We've seen it in our business interactions, in higher education, in our cultural visits, and we are just absolutely walking on air after this incredible week in India. So I've been thinking about our get-together for the past week, and wondering what kind of words I'd leave you with. And I won't talk long because I'd love to take a few questions if we have a few minutes, Doctor, if that's all right. I'm circled in on sort of 2 different themes. One is, how can we strengthen both of our societies, both in India and in the United States? And I say that because we have so much in common. We were the first democracy in the history of the world. India is the largest democracy in the world. We have very good relations. They're as good as they've ever been in many respects. We have enormous diversity in both of our countries. But what can we do with that? What can we do to strengthen each of our societies and maybe learn from each other? The other theme that I've been kicking around, and I think it's probably because of the amount of time we've spent in respect and solemnity and in memory of Mahatma Gandhi, is the question of what makes a hero. We were in Gandhi in Delhi, in Gandhi's Smriti. I always get that butchered, Wes, I apologize. We spent some time with his granddaughter in Delhi, Tara Gandhi. We're at his solemn ashram here in Gujarat. And so I've been thinking a lot about him and his legacy, and thinking about other heroes, and asking myself, what makes a hero? You know, even if it isn't all the attributes, what's one attribute that I've sort of taken away in particular from the reflections of this week? So on the first one, it seems to me we are stronger when everybody, not just some of us, but everybody is at the table. And if we have the diversity that we have in India, and at the same time have the diversity that we have in the United States, we start in a good place. But we're in far too many rooms, both in India and in the United States, including in New Jersey, where not everybody's in that room, where those rooms don't reflect the diversity that I'm looking at right now, which is so impressive. So that to me leads me to conclude we're stronger, whether it's in India or America, if we empower people, if we include people, and we're inclusive, when we not just talk about diversity, but we live diversity, that we live pluralism. And I come to that conclusion as it relates to how we can be stronger by the simple observation that we're only as good as our weakest link. And if we don't think about all of us as opposed to just some of us, we will never be as strong as we could be. So we need more women in the room. We need more ethnicities in the room, more races, more religions. We need to be blind to economic status. We need everybody at the table. That's certainly a lesson from Gandhi's legacy. We need the LGBTQ community in the room. We need the differently abled in the room. And I think whether it's in India or in the United States, if you ignore any of what I've just said, we will not be as strong as we can be. So it's all religions, not some. It's all ethnicities, not some. It's all races, not some. It is women empowerment. It is LGBTQ. It is everybody's at the table regardless of what their mother or father does for a living or how big their house is. It's the folks who are differently abled. That's my conclusion. We are strong as a society, whether it's here or in America, when everybody is with us, not just some of us. And again, I say that from the perspective of living in a great nation, the world's first democracy, in a country that we are all so proud of, and in India, one of our greatest partners in the world, the biggest democracy in the world, celebrating the same sort of diversity. Let's make sure everybody is in the room, and if they are, we will be stronger than we would be otherwise. That sound okay? Everybody? Secondly, I thought about, as I mentioned, what makes a hero. And by the way, what I just said, everybody in the room, is a different way of saying what Martin Luther King said on August 28th, 1963, in his famous I Have a Dream speech, which I believe remains the most relevant speech of any speech ever delivered by an American, because what he said on that day is just as relevant today, and by the way, just as relevant in India as it is in America, which is, I have a dream that someday my 4 children will grow up in a nation where they are judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. So let's not weaken ourselves by falling prey to what somebody looks like, or what they wear, or what their accent is, or what their mother and father does, or who they love, or how they worship. Let's not weaken ourselves by falling into that trap. Instead, get to know each other. Understand what's inside our character. We don't all have to love each other, but we do have to give each other enough respect and enough time to get to know each other so you can walk away and say, listen, I made an informed decision. I got to know that person. So that's a different and I think better way of saying what I said. So 1 minute on heroes, and I suspect that we could all come up with who's your hero. If we had more time, I'd love to come out and ask you who your heroes are and why. But it seemed to me that a word, and again, I have to admit that I've been thinking a lot about Gandhi this week, who, by the way, is a huge hero in America, not just in India and around the world. But the word I kept coming back to was courage. Heroes have courage. Gandhi and King stood, in many respects, for the same things. Not just celebration of nonviolence and nonviolent change, but also a passion for lifting up those who otherwise would be left behind. And each of them lived that life, and ironically, their mantra, their passion, their legacy of nonviolence, they were each met with a violent death. but they had enormous courage to go places that others wouldn't go. King died standing with striking sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee. You all know how Gandhi gave his life. And in each of their cases, and I know King's case better, they had enormous pressure from even their own allies to abandon peaceful change and embrace violence. But they didn't. So that took courage. I'll give you a hero I've got, which you probably have never heard of before, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was a German. Bonhoeffer was a Protestant minister, and he concluded with the rise of Nazism that the Christian community, particularly the faith leaders, weren't doing enough to stand up for the victims of the Holocaust who are overwhelmingly Jewish. And so Bonhoeffer, over a period of years, organized opposition to Hitler and Nazism. It got so bad, he got in such risk that his friends convinced him to send him to America for a couple of years, which he did. He worshiped in New York City, but he came back. And he came back and went back at it again, and ultimately was arrested, and Hitler personally directed that he be hanged 1 month before the end of World War II. It led another great American to say this about Bonhoeffer, and I won't get the quote exactly right, but you'll get it. If your opponent has a conscience, then follow Gandhi. If your opponent has no conscience, like Hitler, follow Bonhoeffer. Do you know who said that? Anybody? Martin Luther King Jr. I'll give you one other hero. This one's hot off the press. I'll butcher her name, Greta Thunberg from Sweden. How about her? 16 years old. She just organized massive rallies around the world about climate change, including here in India. That's courage. By the way, Bonhoeffer had courage to give his life in opposition of Hitler. Greta is standing up and saying, we're not going to take no for an answer. Her generation will solve the riddle of climate change because our generation has not. And she's not waiting. And you're not waiting. The time is now. And yesterday's demonstrations, not just in America, but around the world, prove the point that she's onto something and that we will solve this riddle, but it won't because we did it, it'll be because her generation did it, and that takes courage. So before I take a couple of questions, I'll leave you with a simple conclusion. If we want to be a strong society in India or America, make sure everybody's at the table, not just somebody, but everybody's at the table. And secondly, my advice to you, any of you could be a hero. Find your courage, find your passion, find your belief system, and you too will be a hero. Thank you all very much. We got time for a couple of questions? Do we have time for a couple of questions? Let's go. Anybody?
Oh, the order we'll take this question is,
Where
we'll
are
take
you?
the question from the students
Oh,
first.
sorry. You're over here.
And then we'll follow them with the others. The order we'll follow is, whosoever has a question can line at one of the mics in the aisle, and we'll take the question.
I couldn't hear. How are you?
Hello.
Thank you. What did you say, sir?
Whosoever has a question can line
Go
up
to
at
the
the
mic.
aisle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.
What's your name?
Dimple.
Deborah?
Dimple?
Dimple. Let's give it for Dimple. Great job. Sir.
Morning, sir. Morning, Professor Jain. Sir, I am Pratyush. I happen to be a sophomore in BTech. And my main concern is regarding the Indians who are into Jersey City as well as Garden State right now. I understand that 3% of those Indians are really good and really excelling at whatever they are doing. But the very next move, which I heard recently of Mr. Donald Trump, the H-1B and S-4 visas, he's already postponed it, I understand. But what do you think that how will they affect, how will his moves affect the Indians existing in the Jersey City, and as well as the students who be a part of the University of New Jersey in near future?
So I'm sorry, I couldn't understand most of that. Did anyone understand? What about it?
Sir, I don't mind repeating it.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you for the question. What's your name?
Pratyush Bhatt.
Thank you for that. So visas are a federal matter in the United States, right?
Yeah.
And I don't agree. I'm not a big fan of I
So
want to
am
be
I,
careful
sir,
with this.
so
I'm
am
not
I.
a big fan of my president's
So am I.
policies on immigration.
Yeah.
That's the most
am I.
polite way I could say that. Because I'll tell you what he's doing. He's throttling the talent end, and he is taking on the folks who desperately need to be in the United States the most. The folks who are seeking asylum, who have no other place to go, who are escaping countries because of religious persecution or violence. And he's taking it out on them, and he's at the same time throttling the talent end of the spectrum. And I think both are wrong-headed. I don't think, unfortunately, I don't think that changes unless we get a new president. And I'll be polite about this. I hope we get a new president soon.
Sure.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ayan Rakshit, and I also have a question regarding visas. So,
we may want to set up a visa window outside and we could have folks come in and...
we hear a lot about academic collaborations between India and US, but what we've often seen is that when it comes to doing research on frontier technologies, Indians often get their visas either rejected or delayed up to the point where opportunities pass.
Yep.
And it's been this way in my understanding even before President Trump came to power. So, and that's not how quite things are with some other countries which work on similar technologies. So, what's the reason behind this, and what's the way forward with this?
I mean, the reason as a sort of general, non-specific to this administration matter is particularly when the economy in any given country is weak, you have an enormous amount of pressure to recover that economy with your own workers. That's not just an American matter, that's just a page out of everybody's playbook. So when we had a great recession 10 years ago in the world, you had a lot of countries, including our own, that were staggering to their feet, and you had enormous unemployment, and that impacts how you think about visas. I personally believe the world economy, while it's shaky at the moment due to reasons that I think are man-made, particularly one man-made, I think we're strong enough to be able to open that process up in a fair way. I don't think it's either or. I'm of the belief if you have a smart visa system, particularly talent-based, that you get a 1 + 1 = 3 reality. We've spent a lot of time this week speaking with Indian companies who have huge presence in New Jersey, and their mix of expatriate Indians and local hires is a cocktail that they measure carefully so that they can get that balance right, including transfer of skills and in both ways. So I believe it doesn't impair the local hiring reality. Perhaps in extreme economic meltdowns, you'd want to look at it, but I don't buy it, and I certainly don't buy the anti-American, the folks who desperately need to be in the United States, not at the talent end, but because they seek asylum, they seek safety. And what we're doing to them and their families is unacceptable. Thank you. Sir.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
How are you?
Yes, I'm good. Fine.
Can you get closer? Maybe just lean down? Take a page out of my book?
Sir, I wanted to know your views on monopolization of media houses and their external influence of media houses and how the common people access news.
Monopolization of what, sorry?
Media houses.
Media houses? Okay. How do I feel about the monopolization of media houses?
Yes.
I don't feel too good. I think that's not an industry that we should feel good about having monopolies. I think we should have competition. And it should be, fact-based. I'm not sure what the context is.
What can we do to stop them? What can we do to stop the monopolization?
I'm not familiar with the India reality, so this is not a comment about India, but this is a classic role for government, good, smart government, that not all regulation is bad. And this is a case where good, smart government regulation to keep competition inside of media organizations and between organizations is a good thing. Thank you. I got to go over here for a second. Madam, I'm particularly happy to see a woman here asking a question. Is that on? Ma'am? Ma'am, if you want to walk down here, you just tell me and I'll repeat the question. There we go.
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you?
Fine.
Good.
So my question is that a large number of, a large proportion of the New Jersey state are Indians. So why is that a lot of Indians choose to stay there? I mean, and how do the locals react to their presence? Like, what are their views about that?
What do the locals react? Here's great news, and if any of my colleagues here disagree or members of the delegation, they should jump in. I think there are a number of reasons. First of all, there's a lot of history. This didn't just start. And I think everyone here, in America, only about 5 million of us are non-immigrants. Everybody else found their way to America. And so when you look at the immigration history in our country and how communities build up in certain places, in some cases it's actually very simple. Your next door neighbor moves, or your cousin moves, and they wire back and say that they're having a good experience, they got a good job. And one thing leads to another, and pretty soon other family members, friends, neighbors, word of mouth. So I wouldn't underestimate that, but that takes a long time. Secondly, and we're seeing it in this mission this week, our economy and India's economy, where India is good and where New Jersey good, is almost a perfect match. It's in overwhelmingly the innovation economy. It's pharmaceuticals, tech, telecom, advanced manufacturing. I have to say it's movies and television. We signed an MOU last night with Bollywood. We did one with Tollywood a few nights ago. So I think there is an incredibly good match in terms of the opportunities, both here, and expertise, both here and there. And lastly, I don't see any, I'm not suggesting that New Jersey's perfect, that there isn't bad behavior by certain individuals that say something stupid or do something stupid, but there is not any meaningful friction between local community and the Indian community. Why is that? I hope it's because we're good people. Let me tell you another answer. The Indian community's been in New Jersey so long, you can't distinguish who's in the Indian community and who's local. Everybody's local. You've got multi-generations of families, and it's, I think, in great harmony, and I hope it stays that way. Thank you. Sir, how many? Maybe do a couple more. I'm concerned about the clock here. Please. I think we need, alrighty.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, my question is what role has education played in your life, and what are you doing to promote it ahead?
What education in my life?
What role has education played in your life?
And what are we doing?
Yeah, to promote it ahead in New Jersey.
So I'll be quick, because I could talk a long time about this. Education has meant the world to me in my life. I had a good public school education. I went to a very good university for a bachelor's degree and a different university for a master's degree. And there's no question I wouldn't have been able to accomplish a fraction of what I've been able to without a good education. And I came from a family of very modest means. The woman who introduced me so generously said we were middle class on a good day. My father didn't get out of high school. My mother only went to high school. So they didn't even know what a good college was from a bad one. And so our family have lived in a little bit our version of the American dream. As it relates to New Jersey, there are two words you need to remember about New Jersey: talent and location. And we're #1 in each. And we put enormous energy into each of those, and money. So we have the #1 public education system in America. Some of the very best institutions of higher education, Pavika and Simon and Tamara, you'll hear from them, are living proof of it. We have great access now to early childhood education. We're trying to make it cheaper for students to get an education. So talent and investing in education is a huge part of our economic development strategy. Thank you. One or two more, we got to shut it down. Yes, ma'am.
In the last elections, there was a lot of speculation about voter manipulation using social media. How is the US trying to address this problem in the coming elections?
About social media manipulating?
Voter manipulation using social media.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is I'm not sure. I think it's still going on. And I think any sober, objective assessment, including by our intelligence community, and they've said this publicly, suggests it is still going on. And it is manipulation, and the Russians are more often than not associated with it. So we are very vigilant about it in New Jersey. We have elections in our state. We care about election security. I would say with respect, but with frustration, I think the social media companies have been very slow to get their arms around this. And maybe only now are they catching up, but I think this has gotten out ahead of them. I think there was a naivete. I think there was sort of a willful ignorance, maybe in some case, that this was a reality. So I think if I had to predict, I think this ultimately leads to a significant increase in regulation of social media, both in our country and perhaps around the world. And I hope if it does happen, that it's done intelligently, because freedom of speech is at the core of any democracy, both here and in America, and we've got to preserve that at all costs. Can you guys be really fast? Thank you, ma'am. Real quick.
So, it's sort of personal question. You have a team with your work as a governor. How do you deal with the disagreements within the team? We have been, for past 1 month, we have been engaged in such leadership skills. But I want to know that how you deal with disagreements within the team. Every time it's not smooth going that everyone agrees to your points and views in the team.
Okay, I'm not sure I understood that. How do you reconcile disagreements within our team?
Disagreements
How do
within
we
the
handle
team
it?
you're working.
Okay, let me get the second question. I'll answer them both at the same time. How's that?
Sir, yesterday I was going through the news and there was one news that people are deciding to raid Area 51. So what is that
People
about?
have decided what?
So yesterday I was going through the news and there was one news that said that a lot of people have decided to raid Area 51. So what is that news about, sir? What?
Okay. That's why we're here. Did you see those empty seats over there on stage right? Those people were supposed to be here. They're actually at Area 51. They had three choices: Howdy Modi in Houston, Howdy Murphy in Gujarat, or Area 51, and both the Prime Minister and I lost out. I have nothing intelligent to add to that question. So God bless you. I thank you for asking it. Except to say this, I'm going to link these together. When we disagree as a team, the person I'm disagreeing with, we send them to Area 51. Thank you all. Thank you. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Governor Murphy, for sharing time with us on this town hall with the students. Earlier today, IIT Gandhinagar signed an agreement with 4 New Jersey universities for research and student exchange programs. At this time, these universities will exchange those agreements. May I request Ms. Pavita Howe, Director of the Advanced Fund at Rutgers University, and Professor Amit Prashant, Dean of Research and Development at IIT Gandhinagar, to come to the stage to exchange the agreement between Rutgers University and IIT Gandhinagar. Thank you, Professor Prashant and Ms. Howe. I welcome to the stage Mr. Simon Ninans, Vice President of New Jersey Institute of Technology, and Professor Pratik Mutta, Academic Affairs of IIT Gandhinagar, to exchange the agreement between New Jersey Institute of Technology and IIT Gandhinagar. Thank you, Mr. Ninans and Professor Mutta. I welcome on the stage Ms. Tamara Cunningham, Assistant Vice President for Global Initiative, New Jersey City University, and Professor S.P. Mehrotra, Professor in charge of External Affairs at IIT Gandhinagar, to exchange the agreement between New Jersey City Technology and IIT Gandhinagar. Thank you, Ms. Cunningham and Professor Mehrotra. Thank you, Governor Murphy, for visiting IIT Gandhinagar and for sharing your thoughts and vision with IIT Gandhinagar students and the community. As a token of our appreciation, we would like to present a small gift to Governor Murphy and the First Lady, Tammy Sender Murphy. May I request Ms. Murphy to join us on the stage to accept a souvenir from us. I invite Nanvi. I invite Navneet to hand the gift to First Lady Murphy. I would request Shruti to hand over the gift to Governor Murphy. Thank you, Mrs. Murphy. Thank you, Professor Jain. Thank you, Governor Murphy. And now, Governor Murphy will take a few questions from the media.
Hi, Governor Murphy. We have some media in the room, and they are interested in asking some questions. So if you folks in the media have any questions, if you can line up at that questions. Okay.
Sir, I'm Parth from Times of India. Hi. Sir, if you can encapsulate your Indian experience, basically the major takeaways from your 7 days, and what are the highlights of your visit here?
Is these working? Hello? Can you hear me? It happens to be true, but I'd be foolish to not say this isn't the biggest highlight. It is. Our trip has been 7 days in 6 cities, as I mentioned. It's been, a bulk of it, I would say, is in business, investment, jobs, and higher education. That's probably 80% of the trip. Very successful. We've already announced that we've, this week alone, have uncovered an incremental 1,250 jobs in New Jersey, and I think a lot more to come. And the important point is that those aren't jobs that we're taking out of India. Those jobs that are going to exist somewhere outside of India. And if they're going to exist somewhere outside of India, I want to be in New Jersey. And I think there's more to come. And most of them, overwhelmingly, in fact, I think all of them are in the innovation economy: pharmaceuticals, tech, telecom, advanced manufacturing. And we're having some meetings to that point here in Gujarat today. Secondly, some very good government meetings at both the federal level and at the state level. And we think you need to do both. So we had a great meeting with the Prime Minister, Gujarat's own, Prime Minister Modi. We had a very good meeting with the Foreign Minister, and separately saw the Commerce Minister on 2 occasions, and had a very good private meeting. And then we saw the Chief Minister here and in Maharashtra, as well as one of the ministers in Telangana. So we've had a good set of government meetings. And then lastly, a little bit of culture. The Taj Mahal, some religious faith communities, the largest mosque in Delhi, if not in India, which we were honored to visit, the big BAPS temple in Delhi. And so obviously I mentioned the Gandhi solemn visits. I mentioned this earlier, I've not been here in 20 years. So to be back is really, really good. And this is the first time in Gujarat, so there was a particular treat for us today.
Sir, apart from IIT Gandhinagar, are there any major collaborations with Gujarat-based industries or any organizations?
So we signed a sister state agreement an hour ago between the Chief Minister and myself, and each of us committed, and our teams committed, that this is going to be an agreement with teeth, with real action. And the Chief Minister and I talked through potential areas of cooperation, including higher education, but making those meaningful cooperations, not just something that we sign on paper. We're headed over to see Zydus Pharmaceutical after this. They have a significant presence in New Jersey. I hope they'll be willing to grow it. I think they will be. We're going then to an SME event hosted by Made in Gujarat by a friend of ours. So we've got some specific steps today, and I think some good steps planned for tomorrow, for the future. Anybody else?
India and United States seems to be at an impasse as far as their trade is concerned. So what were the discussions that you had? There seem to be a blockade as far as their trade is concerned. The US is worried about India's trade policies. Yeah, and India is worried about US's trade policy. So what was it that you discussed with the center and the state?
So I would just say briefly, that's not my area of responsibility, but I think a constructive, steady, predictable trade relationship is good for all parties. I leave India with a sense of optimism that India and the United States will get to a good place sooner than later. I say that as a personal observation, not on behalf of my government. And I think that's a good thing. I think having sensible, freer trade is always on the margin a good thing, but I also would say each country has their own national interests that have to be respected. And I think in particular, workers have suffered from inadvertent, unintended consequences from trade deals in the past. So I'm all for predictable, steady, constructive trade, and I think that India and the U.S. will get there, my sense is, sooner than later, and let's make sure that we're protecting workers as we do that. We good? Everybody? Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Murphy, Mrs. Murphy, Professor Jain, students, and the community for your gracious presence at this event. It was a lovely morning, and on this note, we'll end a town hall session for the day. Thank you.